Man, what are we talking about? No, seriously, what are we talking about? Like, this is your brain on gender war. That's all I can think about. Like, the conversations that are being had, like, okay, this is what happens when you spend too much time talking about the gender war. Because 99% of these conversations should not be happening. This is not a controversy. This is not something that's up for debate. It's actually very simple, very cut and dry. Few things are, but this is. The bottom line is what's most important is the children. The innocent party is the children. Our number one concern should be the children. And so if that's the case, it is very simple. Cam Newton is wrong. End of the conversation. It's that simple. It'd be one thing if he was like, you know what, when I was in the league in my 20s and early 30s and city to city and MVPs and going to the playoffs, I was kind of young and reckless and having fun. And so I kind of have a whole bunch of kids by several different women, but I'm pushing 40 now. I'm out the league. I'm a businessman, and things have slowed down, and I kind of see like, okay, I was kind of reckless, but I'm trying to rectify that. That would be one thing. You made some mistakes, but you learned from it. But what he said was, I have 8 kids by 3 different women, and I want more. Once again, that might not have been so bad because it could have been like, okay, well, I already have kids with 3 different women. I'm going to go back to the women I already have kids with and have some more kids with one or some of those women. That wouldn't have been as bad. But no, he said, I want some more, and I don't really know how they're going to get here. It's just going to happen. And then what made it worse was he said, I don't plan on getting married because I'm scared of getting a divorce. That's what makes him wrong. Because what he's saying is, what I want is most important. I know that it's most healthy for children to grow up in a 2-parent household where the parents are together and they love each other. But I'm afraid of getting married, so I'm not going to do that, and I'm not going to get married. But I still want to have kids, so I'm going to just have them anyway. Matter of fact, have some more anyway, because I already have 8. I want more. And I don't plan on raising them up the traditional way. And I'm already spread thin because I got 8 by 3 different women, but I want some more. But I don't want to get married because it's what I want. It's very simple. In this particular situation, he is wrong. Because the children cannot receive what they deserve, which is to grow up in a 2-parent household with both parents in the home. That's it. That's it. It's nothing else to debate. We don't need to debate, oh, she's 40 and she not married and she was engaged before, and oh, well, it's different because he got money, and oh, well, we talking about him, but what about the women that chose to deal with him? And that's not, listen, leave the gender war conversations in 2023. That should have been over with a long time ago. This is a very simple situation. The fact of the matter is, he is wrong. If your priority is the children, he is wrong. That's it. And it's so strange to hear so many people defending this guy intentionally making broken homes when You yourself came from a broken home, which is why a lot of you are pushing 40 or over 40, and you're spending all your time online having these gender war conversations. You came from a broken home, and now you're a broken adult having broken conversations on the internet with strangers. Yet you're trying to justify him intentionally making broken homes because he got money. That doesn't make any sense. And I'm going to tell you what, some of y'all going to get mad at this, but it is what it is. What I've noticed is that 1 foot in, 1 foot out fathers don't have a problem with having a whole bunch of different kids with different women. As a matter of fact, they enjoy having different kids with different women. Fathers who have 1 foot in and 1 foot out like having kids spread all over the place. Because when I feel like playing family, I can go play family over here. And if she getting on my nerves, or, I've been with her for a couple of months in a row, I kind of want to switch it up, then I can go over here and play house over here. And then when I get tired of that, then I can go over there and play house over here. And then I get celebrated over here for my birthday and Father's Day. And then I get something totally different over here for my birthday and Father's Day. And it's like I got multiple birthdays and multiple Father's Days and multiple holiday traditions and multiple households and multiple families. And it's just, you just got so much extra. So 1 foot in, 1 foot out fathers, they have a great time having multiple families. But let me tell you something that I know from experience. Fathers who are fully invested, I'm talking about fully invested in their kid's life, 3 kids by 8 women sounds like a burden. It sounds stressful. I know we've adopted this mentality that, if you got money, then you can afford to have a whole bunch of different kids. And if you got money, you can have a whole bunch of baby mamas and everything's going to be fine. It's not that big of a deal because you can afford it. Listen, that's not true. That's completely false. And you know what I've noticed about that? The people who say that, they never have the money of what they're talking about. Nor do they have the family situation that they're talking about. So here it is. You have no kids, or you have 1 kid by 1 person, and you're making between $40,000 and $80,000. But you're saying, hey, if you got a couple of million, then you can have 6 kids by 4 different women, and it'll be fine. And it's like, you're not speaking from experience. You're just saying things that don't make any sense. Let me clear something up for you. If you are wealthy, financially, you can support multiple households. You can. But it doesn't matter how much money you have. You cannot be a fully functioning father with children in 3 different households. Let me say that again. It does not matter how much money you have. You cannot be a fully involved father if your kids are in 3 different households. It is not physically possible. You can pay for private school. You can pay for nannies. You can pay for tutors. You can pay for trips and clothes and a nice place to stay and a housekeeper. But you cannot personally yourself be an active father and you have children in 3 different houses. It's not physically possible. Because let me tell you what an active father does. Active fathers understand, listen, at certain ages and certain milestones, kids need to be hitting certain markers. You got to be in the home to stay on top of that and to monitor that and to make sure that happens. At certain ages, kids need to take on more and more independence and responsibility, and they need to be trained up for that. You got to be in the home to make that happen. As kids grow, they need to learn a certain level of maturity and emotional intelligence and responsibility and values and beliefs and principles and all those kinds of things. You got to be in the house to do that. Those things take time. You can't pay for that. You can't outsource. They need mom and dad to teach them that. From daily interactions in the household, at the breakfast table, on the way to school, on the way to after school activities, having dinner. Active fathers understand that you got to put kids on a schedule. You got to get them on a routine. You got to give them structure and order and guidance and discipline, proper respect for authority, being aware of their surroundings and not being green and not being goofy. You gotta watch out for nasty attitudes. You gotta watch out for bullying. You gotta watch out for selfishness. You gotta watch out for meltdowns when they don't get their way. You gotta watch out for being a follower, thinking for yourself. You gotta watch out for what's on these tablets, what's on these iPads, what's on these TVs. That comes from being in the house around the children every day. It is impossible to do that in 3 different houses. It's not possible. You got to figure out, okay, they're getting older. It's time to put them in some activities. We got to find out what they're interested in. We got to find out what they're good at. We got to find out what they're passionate about. We got to figure out, what kind of skill and creativity and ability and interest do they have, and how can we push them towards that and invest in that and cultivate. That comes from spending time in the house with the child. You got to learn what's the best way to reach the child, what's the best way to reprimand them, what's the best way for them to understand what you're saying to them. When is it time for tough love? When is it time for correction? When is it time for nurturing? Some kids respond better to taking away their technology. Some kids respond more so to taking away their ability to go outside and play. Some of them respond more to giving them chores and responsive extra work to do. You got to figure out what buttons to push to motivate the child, to push them in the right direction. You got to watch out for how they interact with their siblings and how they value family and how they treat family outside of the house when they're around other people. It's a lot. You got to make sure you're the spiritual guide for the family. So if you're a Muslim, you got to make sure you're teaching those Muslim principles and passing them down to the children. If you're a Christian, whatever you are, you got to make sure you're molding them in the right image and training up a child in the way they should. Come on, man. They're going to have friends and cousins and birthday parties, and all of this is daily work. And so men who are actually doing this daily work, the idea of having to try and do this in 3 different houses sounds like a nightmare. Ain't nobody trying to do that. Ain't no real fathers trying to do that. and then say I want to have more. Nah, real fathers ain't trying to do that. Hey, be mad if you want, but that's the truth. Once again, 1 foot in, 1 foot out, playing house fathers. Yeah. The idea of having a whole bunch of women all over the place and kids in all different houses, that's fine when you're not really invested in the families that you're creating. If you are truly invested in the families that you're creating, you're not trying to create them all over the place because it's too much work and you know you can't possibly do all that work because you're only one person and you can only be physically in one place at one time. And you understand it don't matter how big the house is. It don't matter how much the private school costs. It don't matter how much you pay for tutors. It don't matter how much you pay for the nanny and the housekeeper, the chef. Y'all need to understand, and a lot of us don't understand this. The only way to properly raise the child is to actually spend time with the child in person. I know that sounds crazy, right? In order to properly raise your children, you have to spend time with them in person. A lot of time, consistently, on a regular basis for 18 years. I know it sounds crazy, right? That's what you have to do. And even after they turn 18, you're still going to spend a whole lot of time checking on them and molding them and teaching. It never ends. You cannot raise your children without being physically present the majority of the time. No parent is around 100% of the time, but you got to be around about 85%. And that might be too low. Like, it's not possible. And it's really that simple. All these other conversations about who was engaged and why this person ain't married. Listen, I don't know why we would even care about that. The fact of the matter is, this is a grown woman, and from my understanding, she don't have kids. So if she don't have any kids by anybody, then she's not failing any kids. And her whole point was, hey, you are failing these kids, which is the truth. So you saying that you can't hold a parent accountable for how they are raising their children if they are not married? Even though most of the conversation in gender war, how much do we talk about single moms and how they're raising their kids? When a lot of you who are talking, you're 40 and you're not married. Like, come on, man. Like, what are we talking about? The conversation doesn't make any sense. He's clearly wrong. That's the end of the conversation.